Hi, this is Majinoni, and here's another edition of Marvel History. This is Captain America, Scourge of the Underworld. Now, Scourge of the Underworld was basically a really awesome idea. Uh, what was happening is there was this guy who would always appear as in a disguise, and he would just walk up to a supervillain and shoot him, and then say justice is served. Now, to get around, getting like armor and things like that, Scourge used a exploding armor-piercing bullet, and he laid waste through countless, or maybe not countless, but a lot of the lower tiered and some maybe middle range tiered villains. Um, what and the one thing that was really cool about this whole concept was, even though this is a Captain America trade, this thing just didn't appear in Captain America. You'd see it all over the place. There was, like, for an example, it was in Fantastic Four, Secret Wars 2, The Thing, of course, Captain America. There was Marvel Fanfare, even U.S. Agent. I mean, it was all over the place. And what was interesting about this concept was you would just be in the middle of a story, and all of a sudden, here's a page or two, and then villain dead. Now, obviously, to put all of this in a trade, it'd be really long. It'd be an insanely long trade, and because of the randomness of the attacks, you really couldn't. It wouldn't make sense to read the entire trade because, like, for an example, there's a part where Fantastic Four is dealing in Secret Wars 2. They get the villain, and then the villain gets killed. And to read the entire issue would make absolutely no sense if you haven't been reading Secret Wars just for that couple pages. What this thing does here is it just gives you those couple pages. Like, this is the very first killing. It appeared in Iron Man 194. Old bag lady shows up, bang, Enforcer's dead, justice is served. Then it goes to the Thing, and this one actually was a little bit longer, but you have that. This is the one that was in Secret Wars. Thor. It's even like the Thor. It's like all of this was going on, and then here's a couple panels here, and he's dead, type thing. But primarily the story went through Captain America, because Captain America was dealing. I mean, it's like a lot of the plot lines crisscross through Cap, especially with the Serpent Society and things like that. Watch Dogs, Red Skull, and Scourge was always involved. I don't want to say always, but was involved in some of that stuff. Now, not all the supervillains were killed. Like, for an example, they showed West Coast Avengers here, number 3, where Scourge was looking for Kraven the Hunter. He, had a battle with Tigra, and then because he didn't want to kill Tigra, or should I accidentally shoot Tigra, then he let him go. So, there were cases like that that happened. And once it got to Marvel Fanfare, this was like a really cool, I call it a lazy comic, because every page was a full page, like one panel. But if you look at the artwork is really nice for the time period. This was drawn by John Byrne, and it really, I think, set the tone. Look how massive the Hulk is, compared to like a normal human. And I thought that was really like an interesting way of doing it. Because imagine this panel done on a regular size, you wouldn't get the full scope of everything, and he wouldn't look as massive. And then eventually he fights Hammer and Anvil, and Scourge just kills one of the members, and then poof, the other one will die because of that. And then it goes back to like all it is basically just random issues that are all interconnected with the storyline. There's one really cool issue in here where it was just like basically it was like a total massacre. He went to a place called like a bar with no name, and he basically just killed like everybody. See, and see, this is the issue here, right here, Captain America 319. And basically what happened was a lot of the supervillains got wind of what's going on. They knew somebody was stalking them, so they figured safety in numbers, and then they met at a bar to try to figure out what to do, but unfortunately for them, Scourge was there. This is also an early, for those of you who didn't know, Captain America and Diamondback had a relationship, and this is kind of like this, they're planting the seed for Diamondback is trying to get Captain America to notice her, and Cap's, he doesn't go that way, with supervillains. So he basically resisted her charms. This issue here was pretty interesting with the Hobgoblin. This is when Flash Thompson was basically framed for being the Hobgoblin, and Scourge went after him. And I think the strength of this story basically it basically went on longer than it should have, I think. I like the idea that there were multiple Scourges, but when the first one got killed, I thought that's when it basically ended. In terms of, that's when it captured my interest. I started to lose interest. From there, then, we still got random killings. And here, for an example, he's working with the Red Skull. And, then it became, I thought, I don't want to say a parody of itself, but it was more like, okay, who's Scourge? I don't know who he is. Here he is again. He got killed. Oh, okay. What, there's another one? Oh, wow. Surprise, surprise. Oh, and that one got beat too, and oh, there's another one. So it just kind of had that kind of repetition, and that's why I didn't really appreciate it, or didn't really like it as much. And then also, it went from Cap, and it started to go for an U.S. agent as well. So, I think a lot of the focus was lost. I guess that's one way to say it. But overall, I think this was it wasn't, for its time, it was a really interesting storyline. I think if something like this were to happen again, what you would see is you wouldn't see this random pattern. What you would see is probably here are the Scourge core issues 1 through 8. And then there's Amazing Spider-Man Scourge. Then there's Avengers Scourge. And there's Fantastic Four 1 through 3, 1 through 3. And they have all these different mini-series. Then there's Frontline. Villains are scared. This is their story. 1 through 4. And I think they would totally exploit it for what it was. Back then, where you didn't have a billion different crossovers just to tell one story, they were able to capture it in such a unique way that you basically, if you wanted to follow the story, you had to go and read every Marvel comic. And they didn't tell you, for an example, let's look at the Hulk one, right? Now, Scourge appears and kills a sea-level villain, but where on the cover does it say Scourge? You have absolutely no idea Scourge is going to appear in this issue. You even go to the first page, there's nothing. It takes you all the way to the end of the story to figure out, bang, justice is served. And I thought that was so brilliant, because it basically told this story of randomness, where a surprise could happen on every corner, and you looked forward to seeing what was going to happen. Even if you didn't want to buy all the books, you would sit there and you would probably sit and read through, flip through every single comic to find that 1 or 2 pages where Scourge killed somebody. And if you weren't paying attention, you'd miss it. Like I said in the Thor, the story's going on, and then he's dead in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels. And then he goes right back to the regular story. Nobody knows anything would happen. And I thought that was just brilliance. Total brilliance. And it's this type of storytelling will never happen again. Ever. And that's a shame, because I think something like this is what kept comics magical. it was that, it was something that was fresh, and it was something that was a time period where people just, it wasn't exploitive. It wasn't about, well, we need to have 50 different titles to fill the shelf, because if we put out 50 books, then, we don't, then that means DC might not be able to put out 50. They might have to put out 45. And that's why this was so special. These types of stories back then. And I would really recommend it if you're a fan of Cap. I would say this is essential reading. Like I said, this was Marvel doing housekeeping, and it was done in such a creative way. It'll never be done again like this. Never. If you have any comments or questions, just let me know. Rate the video up or down. Let me know what you think. And I'll have more reviews up this week because we got new comics. And and also one more thing before I forget. There would be advertisements in the comics that used to have something similar to this. So this way you'd see like who was killed. And I thought that was also really cool too, because then it's like, oh my god, Death Adder, where did Death Adder get killed? I missed an issue type thing. So, it was really good. So anyways, I'll have more reviews up later, so until next time.